You know that feeling when you're stuck on something important and it feels like everyone else got the instruction manual but you? Like there are these hidden rules to the game that nobody ever told you about? Well, in this explainer, we are going to dive deep into how you can uncover that secret knowledge and turn it into a blueprint that anyone can use to take action.
Okay, so picture this. On one hand, you've got a university student just completely paralyzed by a blank screen. And on the other, a humanitarian leader in the middle of a crisis zone, making decisions where lives are literally on the line. I mean, these two worlds could not feel more different, right?
But what if I told you they were both stuck for the exact same reason? Seriously, that the student's writer's block and the leader's immense pressure, they actually come from the very same single paralyzing problem.
And that problem is not having access to the unwritten rules. In both of these cases, everything grinds to a halt because the really crucial, unspoken knowledge, the actual how-to, it just hasn't been made clear. This isn't about not being smart enough or brave enough. It's about not having the playbook.
So how do you get your hands on that playbook? Well, let's start with our student. Our first blueprint comes from a fantastic source called the Academic Writing Survival Kit. And it's basically a guide designed to demystify all those hidden rules of academia.
And here's the core philosophy of the book, which is it's a total game changer. It says that good writing isn't some kind of magical talent you're born with. No, it's a craft. It's a set of repeatable moves that absolutely anyone can learn, practice, and eventually master.
So let's get practical and look at one of these moves to see exactly how this works. The guide takes this really abstract idea of making an argument and breaks it down into a super simple, concrete building block that you can use right away. It's called the PEEL method, P-E-E-L, and it's a 4-step structure for literally every single paragraph you write. First, you make your point. Then, you bring in the evidence. After that, you explain what that evidence actually means, and finally, you link it all back to your main argument. It's simple, it's logical, and it is so powerful.
Okay. Check this out in action. We start with a clear point. Social media is linked to anxiety. Then we support it with evidence from a major study. The explanation clarifies why this connection exists. And finally, the link tells us why this matters. It's essential for creating solutions. See, that simple structure just transformed a basic observation into a rock-solid, persuasive argument.
All right, now let's pivot to our second blueprint. We're leaving the writer's desk and heading straight into that crisis zone with a guide called From Crisis to Resilience. And what it does for humanitarian leadership is exactly what the first guide did for writing. It makes the implicit, hidden rules explicit for everyone. And you're going to see a pattern here. Just like with writing, this guide argues that leadership isn't something you inherit or are just born with. It's an architecture. It's a system of tools and frameworks that you can actually design, build, and put into practice. And this guide gives you those tools. For example, there's the Beta decision framework, which is a clear process for making those tough calls when you have no idea what's coming next. There's narrative sovereignty, a protocol to make sure that people actually affected by a crisis get to tell their own stories ethically. And resilience as praxis, a model for building systems that can absorb shocks instead of just reacting to them. These aren't just fuzzy ideas. They are concrete blueprints for action in the middle of chaos. So we've got these two totally different worlds, right? And two different sets of blueprints. But here's where it gets really cool. They are both built on the exact same fundamental idea. Remember this? We started here with the Writer's Toolkit. The idea that expertise is a skill that you can teach, not some exclusive gift for a chosen few. And now, look at this, from the Leadership Guide. Do you see it? It's the same idea. Both of these sources, from completely different fields, land on the exact same powerful conclusion. The real goal isn't just to be the expert yourself, but to empower others by building that knowledge inside of them. The Leadership Guide actually gives this process a name, knowledge remittance. It's the very deliberate, strategic act of taking all that in your head, unwritten expertise, and turning it into clear, teachable systems that give other people the power to act on their own. And when you do that, you create what the source calls a sovereign workforce, and that applies to both our student and our leader. They become sovereign because they're no longer dependent on some secret hidden rules. They have the blueprint. They are empowered to build, to create, and to lead. So, okay, why is this idea of creating and sharing blueprints so incredibly important? Well, because its impact goes way, way beyond just one student or one leader. I mean, if you want to understand the impact, just look at this number. Finstock Evercity, an institution that actually helped develop this leadership guide, has already taught over 100,000 students using these very principles. When you turn knowledge into a blueprint, you create the ability to scale expertise on a massive, massive level.
So at the end of the day, turning those hidden rules into open blueprints does three incredibly powerful things. 1. It democratizes expertise, making it accessible to everybody. 2. It builds resilience, not just in people, but in whole systems. And 3, it allows brilliant ideas to scale up and truly change the world.
And that really leaves us with one final thought, a question for you. In your work, in your community, in whatever you're passionate about, what unspoken knowledge, what hidden rules are just sitting there, waiting for someone, maybe you, to finally draw up the blueprint?